It's the final super over, the end of the series. Harmy, I want marks out of 10 for the bowlers, the batters and the tour. How successful has it been? Out of 10, the tour, the batters and the bowlers.
I think it's got to be 8 out of 10, probably across the board. I think you can find, maybe it's 8.5. I think you can find plus and minus points. I think the batters, there's been in isolation, there's been brilliant innings. I mean, the one that stands out is in Wellington of Harry. His innings then again in Christchurch. Obviously the Root's got another 100. I think the openers have had a tough. That's largely down to the brilliance of New Zealand as well. I think we've got to give huge amount of credit to Henry and O'Rourke, especially on the New Zealand side. But I think all in all, I think the bowlers, I'll give a 9. Batters, I'll give an 8.5 because I'm a bowler. The team, I mean, that's an 8 out of 10. Come to New Zealand, it's a tough place to come, and you win. I said at the start, England need to win 3-0. I said at the start of this Test match, England need to be ruthless and win to go and win 3-0. I think they were beaten here. I think there's no drop off. There's no sort of soft belly what England have been accused of in the past. I think they've been beaten here by New Zealand. I thought that spell of Will O'Rourke in the middle of the afternoon, that blew the innings open with Bethel at first, then getting Brook out first ball, then getting Root. That for me, that blew the game open, and then obviously the brilliance of Kane in the afternoon really set home England win. If that was the first Test match of the series, I wouldn't have been sort of complaining. I would say England have to come back. I think England give as good as they've got, and I think overall as a team, I think 8 out of 10 is probably fair reflection on where they've been because they've come away from home and won.
All right, you can give the next 5 balls a smack. Next, second delivery is rotation. Is that something that England need to learn to perfect? I mean, they'd made one change in the bowling attack. Is that something that they need to think about more for 5 Test series in particular?
Well, 5 Test series, yes, definitely. There's a difference. I think circumstance dictated why there was only one. I think England could have played the same team 3 Test matches. There's no reason, I don't think, why Wokes needed to come out of the team to go in, and I think they just performed that well in the first 2.
Not with 3 days between them.
Not with 3 days in between, but I just think you have to back the players that have played well for you, and if they turn around and say, yes, I'm fit, then you throw them back out again. I think it was a good experience for Atkinson and Carse to go back out for the 3rd time. I really do. Long term, I don't think it would happen against India, and I don't think it would happen against Australia. But I think in their careers, playing Test cricket, the mentality of what Test match cricket is, I don't think it was a bad thing to test them out and see where they were when it comes to playing 3 back-to-back Test matches.
So the pain will serve them well in the
future.
Pain
will serve them well in the future, absolutely. They have to dig deep and go to an area of their body and their skill sets when things aren't quite feeling right, and I think that's what Test match cricket is all about. It's a great learning curve, and I thought the tick boxes brilliantly in this series did Atkinson and did Carse. Wokes especially, away from home, a lot of question marks on him. I thought Bashir was very, very good when the team needed him, because he's come to New Zealand, had hardly spun, and he bowled some very, very good team overs. So I think all in all, I would like a rotation in, but I can understand why they've gone that way and challenged the bowlers to perform 3 back-to-back Test matches, because you know what, rode the crest of the wave because we're performing well.
All right, the 3rd ball, we've got to talk about the Kiwis, haven't we, honestly? I mean, we were debating about Kane Williamson and Will O'Rourke to be presented with the player of the match, and up walked Mitchell Santner with 49, 76 and 7 wickets.
Yeah.
I mean, credit to them. You just said that England were beaten rather than they, they didn't punch themselves in the face like New Zealand did in the first Test match. So a word about the Kiwis.
Yeah, the Kiwi. I mean, it was a solid performance. I'm sure Tom Latham at the end of this series, when he finishes the debrief and has a beer with Gary Stead and go, what could have been? We don't drop 8 catches in Christchurch. And a lot of what-if moments happen all time. If it didn't rain in Manchester, England win the Ashes. What if? Actions were, they dropped 8 catches, and that, for me, is what's probably cost them a chance to come here, with the series on the line. Would we have seen the same performance from either side? I'm not sure. That's another what-if moment. But I think the Kiwis have been largely very, very impressive, something I expected them to be. One or two areas where I think they'll look at that they probably expected to turn up. Ravindra didn't have the best series. Kane was fantastic. Mitchell was solid as ever. And the bowlers, I mean, really, really impressed. The stock of Will O'Rourke's getting, more and more. I know county cricket is looked at in not the same, with white ball cricket and franchise cricket being a big one on offer. But I think if I was New Zealand cricket, I'd be tempted to just send them to England for six out there now. 6 out of 8 games at the start of the summer. I'll give them a good rest in between times. And I think if one of the big counties come up and say, we'll take Will O'Rourke and we'll protect him and look after him, and we'll play him, make him rest and play him to learn how to play the Duke ball, to keep his involvement in red ball cricket going, I don't think that would be a bad shout, rather than go and bowl 4 overs in a franchise tournament. I think for his development, I think spelling county cricket might do him the world of good at the age he's at and the sort of position he is in his career.
All right, fourth ball is Ben Stokes. Does the England captain need to be protected from himself? And if he does, who is that person to come and tap him on the shoulder when he's bowling the hard overs with a soft ball, when the test match is gone, the opposition are 450 ahead, he's thundering in, bowling the hard overs himself? Who is the man to tap him on the shoulder and say, Benjamin, stop it?
Unless he takes a mirror out there with him, I don't think there is anybody. I don't think Joe does that. I don't think there's any sort of seniority out there. Brendan can't run on. I think somebody might have to put a mirror in his back pocket and say every now and again a little message on the big screen or something. Ben, look in that mirror.
Perhaps Joe could say, Ben, look in the mirror.
Ben, look in that mirror. I think what's happened here is something where it's never a good thing to see somebody get injured, and it's not. But I think Ben now probably knows how far he can push his body, because his body's new. If you want to look at it in a way that he didn't bowl for a long period of time because of his knee injury, then he got his knee fixed, and he can bowl. He can run in and he can bowl. He's shown, he can prove he can bowl, longish spells. Now he's done his hamstring. I think he probably knows now how far he can push his body, and that might not be a bad thing moving forward, because when he feels as though he gets them red signs and the warning signs, he then probably has to rein himself in. I don't have a problem in bowling 10 over spells. I have a problem with him, not knowing how far to go when you can really hopefully try and get somebody else. That's the part from the ball before, the rotation bit. Atkinson and Carse looked cooked, so he took responsibility on himself. Bashir was already bowling at one end, so he's doing the thing for the team, and the team comes first in everything that Ben Stokes looks at. But the biggest thing I would say to Ben Stokes on that front is this team it's not a bunch this team doesn't exist, but this team's an awfully different team when you're not in it and you're not leading it. And that's something I'd be trying to, convince him and talk him into saying, when you feel as though the sort of warning signs and the red light's on, then for God's sake give it to Ben Duckett or Zach Crawley. I'd rather them bowl than you, for the simple fact we can't be without our leader. This team can't be without our leader. No disrespect to Ollie Pope, but the way we look at the game and the way we see the game, the way we play the game, is completely different when Ben's not in charge.
The fifth ball is a crystal ball. What's going to happen against Zimbabwe and India?
I think Zimbabwe and India, I think England have to go. Zimbabwe, they have to play the strongest side and go and get themselves off to a good start in the summer. Cash in on the wickets. No disrespect to Zimbabwe, but it would be like playing the universities all them years ago. You go in, you cash in, you get your numbers up, you have a good day in test match cricket. The bowlers, get a bag of wickets each, and then you move on to the main attraction, which is India. The crystal ball is a difficult one to look into, because which India will come? Is it going to be the Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, of name of note, or are India going to come up, get at the end of the ball to Gavaskar and go, time you lot moved on and somebody else come in. So that's going to be the challenge for India. I think England will be ready by then. Got a long break. Few players will have a good rest going into that series, and it's a rest they deserve. 17 test match in a calendar year. Done that a few times. It is very tough. So a break and then get themselves ready and set. And hopefully by then our captain will be fully fit. All our players will be chomping at the bit, ready to go. And I fancy us to beat India. I really do fancy us to beat India, and that will set up what will be a brilliant Ashes in less than 12 months' time.
And the final ball, the fastest growing industry in this country, Harmy, is craft beer. There was a time when you only had 3 lagers to choose from in New Zealand, but now there are 450 craft beers. I'd like to know your thoughts on them.
I'm going to try and go through every single one by the time me and you talk again, which will probably be next week. The plane will leave in 2 days' time, and I would imagine I'll go a hell of a long way through them 450 by the time we get to the point of Biggles getting in the air.
Enjoy your trip to Newcastle.
I will enjoy my trip to Newcastle, likewise to Cape Town. It's been a brilliant 4 weeks. I mean, covering this England side is always special. But it's also special to do it with good people.
See you next time.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.